Why get at it, fatty? Simply because I've been fat my whole life, but I've always been active. And now, later in life, I'm understanding that there's a difference between being active and being healthy. And I've always been active, never healthy. And so you'll see some of the content and some of the pictures that I'm showing now, and even one of the silly videos that I put up. I've done several 5Ks. About 10 years ago, did the 10-mile Tough Mudder. I'll tell that story. That's a story in and of itself. But did the Tough Mudder, and just recently tried the Disney 10-mile Springtime Surprise. And that's just, just official stuff. Always been very active. Never cared what I ate because I was always strong and I can kind of power through. But as I got older, just realized that wasn't realistic anymore. So, always been fat. Have, fast forward, so I've had hypertension for years, been on medication for years, and did not really pay attention to the side effects of the medication. Which, everybody, don't just look over that stuff. Don't be silly like me. So I didn't really pay attention to the side effects. And I had minor side effects, but never paid attention because I didn't pay attention to the side effects of the blood pressure medication. So, not knowing that at the point. So one day I'm sitting down, my wife and I are working from home, and I eat something and just start throwing up. And as I'm throwing up, my wife's terrified. My face starts feeling funny. And I look up at her. Apparently, my face is all swollen up, and she gives me a mirror, and I look like Martin when he fought Tommy Hearn. And I ain't want to fight no more. So we both terrified. I'm throwing up. I'm starting to feel the swelling. She's calling 911. She helps get me upstairs to our front porch, and I don't know where she goes. And while I'm on the porch, I feel like I was so hot, with the vomiting and the swelling. I don't know. I didn't know what was going on. But the porch was so cool, so I laid down on the floor. And in that moment, my throat started to close up. And I've only told this to, a few close relatives, really. But as I'm laying on the floor on my porch, not knowing how far the paramedics are, I feel my life flash before my eyes, but not in the way that it's seen in TV and movies. And I'm not judging anybody else's near-death experience. This was mine. My throat starts to close up, and I am at total peace. And my life flashes before my eyes in themes. And like some of the themes are like, I didn't know my father growing up, and that was such a huge part of my identity. And I like saw the themes of like not knowing who my father was to the amazing men that God had put in my life that helped to fill that gap. And I'm not saying that any outside person can ever replace a father, but God can put people in those gaps. And so there were several amazing men. Again, they were just themes. I don't know how quick it was. I don't know how long it was. But I remember thinking of those men and just kind of thanking them quietly in my heart for allowing God to use them to help change me. then the next theme was I went from not knowing who I was as a man because of, the father issues and all of that. But then I was able to see that at that point I had 3 amazing teenagers, a loving wife who just saved my life. I don't know what would have happened if she wasn't working from home that day. But I saw how when I first got married, I didn't know who the heck I was. But now at this moment where it felt like it was coming to an end, I was comfortable and okay with who I was as a man, and as a husband and as a father, and all those different definitions that I had as a man. I was okay with those. I'm so okay with how I had lived that out. It wasn't perfect. Man, I haven't always been the best example as a father or as a husband. But overall, in that moment when my throat was closing up, I was thankful for the man that God had allowed me to become. And it was like the next theme was my ministry. Again, at that point, almost 20 years of active ministry, not perfect ministry by a long shot, but in that moment when as I was laying on my porch floor, I can and still say now, man, I love, and in that moment loved my local church assembly. I loved serving every good time, every bad time, every headache. I had no regrets about my time in ministry. And then it was like the last theme was my career. And I'll do another episode where I talk about all of the different jobs that I've had, starting with being a paper boy. I think my first actual job was like a paper boy. So, but to start, my first real job as an adult was a janitor at a hospital. And now that I look at it, I was like 16, 17, working with full-grown adults with families. And I've done so many jobs, but starting as a garbage man, that was the lowest job for the janitors. And I'll tell y'all about garbage juice one day. Goodness. But starting as a hospital janitor, and I, at that point, had worked my way and been blessed to work at a marketing agency in downtown. And God showed me, like, man, I went from a janitor to corporate America. You'll learn more that I dropped out of college a few times. Woo! But I went from college dropout to college graduate. And so to say all of that in that moment, I was at peace. And I'll tell you all about my hospital experience. Obviously, I didn't die. I hope, unless we all in the Matrix. But I'll tell you about my hospital experience and how that helped to lead to get to At It Fattie, and how that helped to lead to get At It Fattie in part 2.